Hello, we're back and we are discussing.
I actually don't know what we're discussing. So she
Listen, I
has
like to give loose topics
that's fine.
because I just like it to flow.
That's fine.
But generally surrounding marriage and
Okay.
stuff like that. And I
Okay.
wanted to start with about love languages.
Hmm.
So let me read this. Wait, let me see if this is actually.
I guess I'll talk while she's doing. I don't
Sorry,
know
I
what
got
she's
it.
doing.
Dive into the concept of love languages and how understanding and speaking each other's love language can deepen connection.
Hmm. Okay.
So, love language is very interesting to me, and it's just so funny to see how different people um, interact in different ways and like different things. Let's start by saying what ours are.
Or what we think they are, or what they are right now, or
Yeah, and I was also thinking like they probably change for some people, but I don't
okay.
think mine have ever changed. But go ahead and tell us what
What I
yours
what I
are.
would say mine are.
I generally always say two, but I don't. That's not really.
Two. No,
So,
two.
but if
Two's
you
fine.
if you feel like you have more than that, go ahead.
I don't, from a personality standpoint and like interacting with people type of thing, like personalities. I delve quite deep into understanding that, but I don't. The love languages thing is not something that I speak on regularly or think about even my own regularly. Um, and I think the personality thing is similar to a love
I was
language
gonna
thing.
say because I was thinking about the topic on the drive here to just think of
Mm.
what to um speak on, and I was like, what we have said ours are just like so obvious to me. So then I was like, you probably, if you know somebody, like know their personality a little bit, you could just gather what it
Sure,
is because it just
sure. I mean, it
it's apparent.
the more
Maybe not for
obvious
everybody, maybe, but for
the
us
more
it's just
the
like
more
so
obvious the
obvious
better.
to
And
me.
also, if you sit there and think about it a bunch, these sorts of personality things and like love language things, gut reactions are usually the most real. If you sit there and like, but do I like that? Da, da, da.
He says
Um,
as he literally takes as long as possible to say what is
oh no,
on.
I haven't answered the question yet. I said I don't think about it very often. So the ones that I often say for me are like words of affirmation and services.
Acts
Yeah,
of service.
acts of service.
And that just is so like fitting
Right. It's just
for who
yeah,
you are.
yeah.
So I feel like most people, like somebody at Young Adults asked me, what are George's love languages? And I said them and they
Whoa,
were
who in the
like,
world asked that?
a guy
Whoa.
for your information. And he was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, because it's all also generally how you show other people love.
Right.
You would generally do it how you want to be loved. So he said, yeah, that makes sense because
Right.
you like
That
to
makes sense.
do things for people and
Right.
also have them, you know,
Do things for me.
speak well of themselves and speak well of them, you
Sure.
do to them. Okay, so mine are physical touch and gift giving. And
I don't know how
the
someone would know
first
about their physical touch. I'm just kidding.
no, they would know because if you're friends with me, I was going to say that in a bad way. I like to give hugs and hold hands
Sure.
and
Sure.
with women.
No,
With
no,
a
no,
hand
no, 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 no,
holding.
no, no, no. We don't. It's nothing weird. It's also like if you're having conversations with people, you like touch their shoulder or whatever. Like you just,
Yes,
yeah,
like
you
if I'm
interact.
laughing, I'll
Yeah.
like smack people.
Right.
Perhaps not
Right.
the best thing to do, but And I wonder if that annoys some people that are not into
Some
the
people.
physical touch, but there's some people who I like know quite well and I've been friends with for a while and I do not do that with. So
Mm,
I think I can
you can
understand when
feel
it
as well.
doesn't make
Yeah. I
sense
mean,
to
I
do.
will say I was intrigued. Um, there's a person that I knew. Not I don't know this person extremely well, but I know them and I see them on a regular basis. But there's sometimes, say work or wherever, you see people on a regular basis. You're still not
Yeah,
like you're still kind of acquaintances. And I would say more than acquaintance. We've known each other for quite some time. But anyway,
yeah.
I was somewhere and they just ended up being there. We started talking and it was very busy. So we were in close proximity, and then you couldn't go anywhere, so we had to keep the conversation going.
Mm.
Esther and I laugh. If I need to get out of a conversation, I always have like a way to like not get. Let me rephrase this. Sometimes it awkwardly goes on, right? So I'm always thinking of like a good way that it could end if it needed to.
Or just like if you need to be somewhere
Yeah,
and you're
just to-
enjoying the conversation, but you just
Yeah.
have to end it.
Yeah, I'm able to just push it in a certain direction to where it's like, okay, everyone's happy. They didn't feel like I brushed them off.
Yeah.
Anyway, this could not be done. And he would have had to leave. He would have had to walk away and push through other people. I mean, it was busy. And so we weren't there for a long time, but we had to keep the conversation going. So we started like asking questions, and it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. I'm not saying that this was not a good interaction at all. That thought came to my mind. I was like, this can't end until it was a restaurant and orders were being made and tons of people, and so
we're slowly getting more information. If this person is watching, they're gonna
they're gonna find out exactly. No, and by the way,
like, wait.
And by the way, I like I said, none of this is negative. But anyway, while we were talking, I didn't expect it from this person. That's all I'm saying. While we were talking, they like grabbed my shoulder when they were laughing or like, oh yeah, and again, I found it intriguing. That's all. Not good, not bad, totally indifferent. I guess I wouldn't even say indifferent. I guess I was kind of like, oh, maybe we are better friends than maybe I first thought. And again, not that this person wasn't before, but it just was like, oh, but then I was also like, wow, we're so close. It's almost like, I mean, I was sitting down. It was also funny because they were standing and I was sitting.
I hate that.
So I'm like this, talking to this person, and I couldn't stand up either.
Yeah.
And when you shake, when you get, and not introduced, I mean, we knew each other. When you see somebody and you don't stay seating and shake their hand, you got to stand up. But I couldn't. It just didn't make sense in this scenario. So then he was just standing there. And I said, it was just, anyway, this is, now you get to know how I think of things, and now we're totally off the subject. But that's, I think of all of those interactions and how it's perceived, and I way overthink it. So anyway, touching the shoulder when people laugh and stuff, that's definitely a thing. I definitely do it too.
So I was going to say, let me backtrack because I had a thought and I actually remember what it was.
Oh, nice.
For once. I used to say that those were the two, but I would say physical touch, which is how I like to be loved and show love. And then I'd say gift giving, and it wouldn't connect in my mind that I was mostly saying that I like to show people love in that way.
You don't want to get gifts from people?
But after I thought about, wait a second, I'm saying that one, but I didn't mean it like that's how I want to be loved. But then I thought about it and I was like, wait, yeah, I mean, like, of course, I like getting gifts and surprises. So it doesn't make sense for both.
That's true. You do like surprises, yeah.
I wonder if there's people, because that's clearly how I was thinking for a second, even though once I thought about it, made sense for both ways. I had originally thought, oh, that's just how I like to love other people. So I wonder if there's a group or if it's a small percentage of people that want to be loved in one way, but
show love in a different way.
To love somebody in a different way, because
that's intriguing.
You learn to do it in other ways, depending on who you're interacting with. Like obviously, we try and do each other's for each other, but
we're not. We're not extremely good at it.
Not even just for somebody else.
We're not extremely good at them all the time, and that's, I guess, a good conversation point. Is just because people are different. Like, I would, if I could just pick, I would want you to be just as accepting and open to be.
Why do you have sunglasses on? I just literally noticed that you
just noticed.
Did you put them on, or have you had them this whole time?
I put the hat on once. I've been doing a bunch of stuff. The way that you like to receive love is usually the easiest for yourself to understand, because you're like, well, that's how I receive it. And then it would be easier, not nice, it'd be easier if the other person also received love in the exact same way, because you understand it.
Correct, because then you just do what you want and it's not difficult.
So we find ourselves sometimes, go ahead.
I am not like unhappy if you love me in the way that you want to be loved. Like if you give
you are sometimes. Or sometimes.
No, I'm only unhappy if I don't get it
Also.
my way for like a while.
Hmm.
But it's not like
Fair.
if you're saying words of affirmation, I'm not going to be like, oh, how dare he give me what he wants to hear. Like,
Sure.
that still makes me happy to be loved
Sure.
in the way that you like to show love.
Sure.
But it
Yeah.
would only make me not happy if it's completely never mine, but only yours.
Yeah.
But like every other form of language, let me look it up actually, because I don't even know what the other ones are.
Oh, you just like, I can pull it up since you already have that up.
Okay, cool. Which I think probably most people would say they're not gonna. Well, some people really don't like physical touch, so maybe they would be upset if you try and hug them all the time.
Excuse me.
And then I was also just thinking, like,
Here are just a few.
sorry, go ahead.
Quality time,
Mm.
words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, gift giving. I mean,
Wait,
there's
that
five.
few?
There's usually 5 love languages.
Oh,
What are the
why did I
5?
think there was like 7 or something?
Uh,
Quality
well,
time.
they say
Quality time is probably one
they
of mine too,
say
which is probably most
I
people.
haven't been. Here, one second.
How can you love someone and be like, yeah, but I don't want to spend time with you?
Dang. But they also say, what are the 5 or 7? Activity, quality time, appreciation, words of affirmation,
Okay, yeah.
emotional,
Huh?
financial, gift giving,
Oh, yeah.
intellectual, physical, and practical. These various love styles
Interesting.
represent the many different ways there are of receiving love in a relationship. Oh, that was all 7. So they are wanting some of those to be duplicates of. Like how I said that one equals that one. That's what they were talking about. Activity, appreciation, emotional, financial, intellectual, physical, and practical. There you have it.
And I feel like ours have been the same.
You asking if they've changed?
Yeah, I don't think they have, but I think probably they could.
Yeah, they definitely could. I
But
mean, for good or for bad, I mean, my initial response is that obviously love languages are important and how you interact with people is important, but I feel like there's just more important things to focus on. All right. Thanks for letting me
I
know.
mean, sure. You could say that about a lot of things.
Mhm.
But I think
How you
it's pretty important
well,
because
again, I said, like I
you
said, I wasn't.
if you don't feel loved in a relationship, obviously that's going to be a problem.
Of course. I think maybe if I can explain it a little bit better, it's like you don't want to have to be, if there's something that needs to be done, if there's something that is important and it's just generally understood. I think my camera stopped, so I'm gonna try to fix it here for a second. Yes, it did. Let me see if
I think it's been looking like that for a while, so that might
it
be
was
a
just
problem.
it was just about then.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow, but it has not. All right, it has not reconnected. So, Esther, talk a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know if we should stop. Now I lost our
It's all right.
train of
Just get
thought.
back into it. Technical difficulties happen.
You're saying there's more important things to
There
focus
can
on.
be. I mean, there can.
But
be.
I just think there's obviously no reason to not think about those things. Maybe don't spend a ton of time, but there would be no negative side effect in my
and
mind
that's why
of knowing what the other person's
the
is.
camera disconnecting paused my train of thought. So let me get back into it now. Which is, if there's something important and or necessary, you'd want it to be second nature, of course. But if there's something that's important or necessary or time sensitive, you wouldn't want to feel like you have to be tiptoeing around the other person to make sure they are feeling, 100% perfect in every situation.
I mean, yeah, but I don't think that's we were saying. I don't think we were saying that. I don't think that super applies
You don't
because
think it
I feel
applies?
like there's not somebody who's gonna like super lock in on that and and
Gonna
not
lock in.
and lose other
No,
parts.
I'm not.
So
I'm
I
not.
feel like for most people, it would be a beneficial thing to know what your partner's love languages are,
No, of
and
course.
even just your friends, because maybe you like gift giving and somebody's like not into clutter or not
Mhm.
into having a lot of things,
Yeah, I guess
and
I
you
was
give them a
saying.
bunch of stuff and then they're like,
Yeah,
bro, I don't want this.
we were talking about general relationships. I think I'm talking about as time goes on in a relationship. You and I have known each other for 10 years, and I don't think that you should start caring about each other less. I think it should be more, but I do think there becomes an understanding. I don't know. I mean, you can disagree with me, of course. I mean, we're having a
Yeah,
conversation. I didn't know exactly.
definitely.
You brought up
You
this
It
conversation now, and so
should
I'm
start to come naturally, and you shouldn't have to think, oh, let me think about what he wants to hear in this time.
right.
It should just start to make sense. But for earlier on relationships and for
Mm,
meeting just new people and friendships,
sure.
it's good to know. But like
No,
I
one
said,
hundred
it's not
percent.
like you have to ask everybody you meet because it's quite connected to your
Person.
personality.
Yeah, there's
So if
the,
you know someone, you should be able to pick
and I'm
up on
only
what they appreciate and
yeah,
what they don't.
as long as I don't put a lot of stock in you know, I mean, I definitely don't put any stock in,
Oh, snap. What's
I
he got
definitely
to
don't put any
say?
stock in, well, neither of us do, obviously, in like, what's your sign and all this stuff. Like,
Oh
this is
yeah,
that's obviously garbage.
that's a
But
hard pass for me.
yeah, that's obviously garbage. So we're not talking about that. But understanding people and knowing how to interact with people is not just a good skill. It's kind, it's caring to
And that's
understand how to.
not really like some people would be like, oh, love language, that doesn't even exist. People are just people. Blah blah. I don't care about that. You can't not care about
100%. You can't
how to
deny
interact and
unless
be
you
able
don't
to
want to
talk to
interact
people.
with anybody.
But then you're just a bad person.
Well, right. I mean, I would definitely agree with you. I
If you're
think
not interested
interacting.
in being able to like interact with different people, and
Mhm.
if you have like, oh, if I meet people like this, I just don't even bother because they're so whatever, then you're
Right.
just not a very good person.
There was this.
You should be able to interact with every type of
Right.
person. Maybe you don't like some as well as others. And I have thought about that recently
Hmm.
because I'll be like, oh, I want to hang out with this person. And then maybe like somebody that hangs out with them a lot, I'm like, I don't
Hmm.
have that desire. And then I feel like, oh, somebody's going to think I'm mean for only wanting to hang out with this
Hmm.
one person. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're not mean to the other person or like specifically try and keep them out of everything, there's nothing wrong with liking a certain person more than a different person.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but it's a little bit of a hot take. I mean,
Not really.
no, no,
And
no,
that's what
no, no.
bothers me because I feel like a lot of people might right off the bat say, have a reaction like that and be like, oh, that's kind of a hot take.
No,
But it's just really,
I don't
to
disagree
me,
with
it
you.
doesn't make sense at all because I'm like, what? You want me to be best friends with everybody in the world?
Sure.
No, I'm
I
going to
don't.
pick the people that I
Of
click
course.
with most and like most.
Of course. But I would then also say
It's
that.
only a problem to me when it like, if you become like cliquish or like you
Yeah.
totally don't want to put
But
any
I guess I'm
interaction with them. Sorry,
sure.
I cut you
Of
off.
course, you're gonna pick certain people that you feel like you interact with best. If if you're talking about hangout and recreational
Hmm.
and of that nature, then it's like, well, of course you're gonna pick you're not gonna purposely
Yeah,
spend time with someone that you
exactly.
feel like you don't click with. But what about someone you have to have some sort of chemistry with because you see them all the time,
Like
and
a
maybe
work
it's a
person,
professional. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm
maybe it's
saying.
professional.
But I don't think it's a problem if work is a good example. If some of your coworkers, you actually are like, oh, we should hang out outside of this. I don't think like you
You
should
should have to
be.
feel like you have to invite
I
everybody.
don't feel, yeah, I don't feel like you should
That's
feel
fair.
guilty or be like, oh, but I don't want to hang out with this person. Who
No,
cares?
yeah, that's 100% fair. But we're talking about so many different things now. Now we're talking about personalities, we're talking a little bit about love language, and personalities and interactions. It's like sometimes you don't get to pick who you're hanging out with. So it's important to also know how to potentially either um, figure out how to have good interactions with those people or deflect those
And that's what I'm
interactions.
saying, like how we were saying earlier, you can't just decide, "Oh, this personality type I
Right.
don't like, so I'm just gonna."
Yeah, there
And
was a
in a
funny.
relationship especially because you could have friends
Yeah.
that maybe aren't my friends, but I have to see them because you wanna hang
Sure,
out with them,
potentially.
then
Thankfully
you
so,
need to
we don't
be able to
actually
not have.
have that
Not very much, no.
almost that I wouldn't say at all. What do you mean not very much? I
I
don't
mean, I think there's people that we both generally, if there's somebody that either of us considers a friend, we know.
that's what I'm saying. It's pretty
But
much a
I
friend.
definitely think there's some people that you know that you're more
Well,
of
there's
a friends with, and they hang out with me
there's some
maybe
people
only
that
because
I
I'm.
know that you don't know, but there's not very many people that you know that I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Which is I don't know. That's intriguing.
Well,
Well,
like
you used to.
maybe 10 times as many people as I know,
No,
so
but
that
that's what I was saying.
kind of makes
It's
sense.
just intriguing. But I'm saying like when you did that, we do the young adult group, but you did a ladies group for a
Oh
while.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Now those people, obviously, I wouldn't really know them. We tried. I guess it never happened. There was a couple from there, and we were gonna hang out, and then we missed once, and then never tried to plan it again, and you've never brought them back
No,
up
we
ever.
missed multiple times actually,
Okay, and we're
and
talking about a long time ago.
her husband had, oh, what was he?
He like got deployed or
Medical?
something.
No, not
Oh, okay.
deployed. He had some job
Okay.
that, like in a certain season, he
You
like
get a
could
bunch.
not
Yeah.
decide his hours, and he'd have hours where it was like, oh, he's home,
But why did it
but
never
then
come
it
back around? You don't even see
because
him
it
now.
was that
Well, but
way for
now
multiple
it's
months. So we had planned a date, and it got
okay.
moved several times, and she was like, I just need to have him be done with this season, and then I stopped going to the group, so
Dang,
I don't see her anymore.
that's crazy.
But I was thinking about her recently, and I was like, I wonder if I
That's
should start that
intriguing.
group up again because
Oh, you did. I mean, you did mention that. You didn't mention anything about that person lately to me, but
yeah,
you mentioned joining that
correct.
group again.
Yeah.
You did mention that. What I was gonna mention was a different young adult group actually. We were a part of. There was this like big dinner. There's a lot of people there. Um, 20, 30 people at this dinner. We had this.
that's
We
that's not what I pictured when you said a
Oh, a
lot
lot.
of people.
Well, it wasn't the whole group. It was when we went out to dinner, and it was a lot for a
That
dinner
is a lot
outing.
for a dinner. Yes.
They put all these tables together. It was a fun group. When we did it, we helped lead it for a while, and COVID COVID shut it down, and then they brought it back. And the way they brought it back, we weren't as interested in,
Mm-hmm.
which is just life. But anyway, while we were there, we started talking about this stuff, and it was the Myers Briggs, I think. And again,
Oh
there's
yeah.
only so much stock that I put in these, so don't take it as something that I'm like, oh, you know. But anyway, this one girl there, she was like, oh, I try to collect them like Pokemon. I try to have a friend that's each one of the ENFJ, all that stuff. And I just found that so intriguing that because I was semi interested in it, and then someone mentioned it, and she was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. And I just thought it was so funny that she's like, I'm trying to collect them like Pokemon. She said, I want a friend of each I don't know what they end up calling it, personality
Yeah.
types. So that was very funny. So, yeah, I mean,
Those
what did you say?
I was just again on the drive here while I was thinking of the
What you were gonna talk
topic.
about?
I was thinking about that too, like personality types and stuff, and I was
Mm,
like, oh, we should do like that quiz thing again,
mm,
just to see like if things have changed. And I don't remember at all like any of
mm.
the things that I got.
Well,
Um,
yours has probably changed, right?
yeah,
I mean, I
probably.
really feel like I've known who I am and interact and process and do things in a very similar manner since I was quite young.
Yeah, and that's cool. But then also, I'm like, does that mean you're not
Hmm.
growing, expanding?
I don't know. I mean, do you
But that's
think of me as
because
someone that doesn't grow and expand? I mean,
no,
okay.
definitely not. But I do think there's things,
Well, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm saying if you're
issues that like, but that's everybody. Usually, if you have like a struggling point, you'll struggle with
sure,
that
and
for
I'm not trying to say I
most
don't
of your life.
have any, but I'm saying from a personality trait, you're not usually trying to change your personality traits. We're not talking about positive,
Yes.
negative. We're talking about how you process information, how you naturally interact as a person. Now, can these things be affected? Yes, but these aren't things I'm not talking about. I'm a rude person. That's not a personality trait.
Yeah.
You're not putting in any effort
But
to be a kind
maybe
person.
you're an introvert and people.
Introvert's not worse than extrovert. Let's be careful.
And I don't think so either. And
Okay.
I'm an introvert, so I would not be saying that.
Actually, you
But-
might.
but- Here's what I will say, which I think I
Excuse me.
just said. People a lot of times can take that as you being rude because they'll be like, "Oh, she's not talking. She doesn't want to talk to me.
Take
She
being
doesn't like
introvert
me."
as being rude.
Yeah. So
Well,
I think it's good to know. I mean,
it's obviously good to know.
if you're taking a test like that, you should generally already know how. You'll know, like, if you lean toward introvert or extrovert.
No, a lot of people won't.
Generally.
A lot of people won't. You're saying if you're already interested in that, you might already have some info?
But, I mean, yeah, but people know if you're happy to talk to people, if you're not really happy to talk to people.
I mean, people don't sometimes. Take the test. See.
Maybe not.
Again,
But
I'm
I
not
feel
saying
like
to stake
you
your life on
should-
it and don't be like, this is how I am, I'm never going to change. That's the dangerous part of these sort of
And that's what I'm
quizzes
trying to
and
get
things.
to.
Okay.
I very much dislike when people have something about themselves that they're
Right.
like, oh,
This is just how I am.
this is why I'm
Yeah, I
this
don't-
way,
that
or
I-
this is how I am,
Yeah.
so I can't, or I don't,
That
or blah, blah,
I have
blah.
never done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
And I don't
nothing
think
about yourself that you can say, oh, I'm this way, that you can't
Yeah.
work on changing. I mean,
don't
like,
think
nothing
you have either, but
personality-wise.
it does upset me how oftentimes you will say, "Oh, I can't do that," instead of like I don't or I won't or I've decided not to. You speak prior to trying a lot of times and will just be like, "No, I can't do that." You mentioned the other day Esther was dressed up really nice as she always is, and the outfit was schmacking, and someone said to her, you should do those little like outfit videos, like where the pieces go on and you kind of strike a little pose and you cut it up and it looks really cute. And I've asked Esther to do that for years. I've always wanted her to do it. I like, online content stuff, and she's never really tried it. And then someone else said it, and she's like, I've been thinking about doing it. And I said, well, then you should just try it. And then she says, well, I won't be able to make it the way I want. And I said, no, it's not that you won't be able to make it the way you want. It's that you haven't tried to. And you often speak like this, and that's very offensive, really.
That's crazy.
Mad disrespect. Mad disrespect. It is. It's offensive because what I mean by offensive
But you
is
know
like,
what?
go ahead.
It's also offensive when you're far on the other end. Like, you'll say, I'll be like sick and say, oh, I can't go to the gym. And you'll purposely rephrase and be like, oh, you're choosing not to go to the gym? And I feel like, too far on the other end. You'll be like, you'll be, what was that phrase you were saying on one of the podcasts that I kept asking you to change? And then you almost changed it. And
No.
You made yourself say it the way you wanted.
I agree with how I'm saying it.
It was something like,
yeah.
You were saying bad things don't affect your mood. And I was saying bad things cannot affect your mood. You can choose to have them not.
But also be, you're saying outside things
I forget the exact
don't
wording,
have
but
to affect.
Yeah, I was saying don't have to, and you were saying they do not affect.
Well, they don't.
And that could offend people because
I don't care about offending them.
No, I'm about to say something that you will care about.
Okay,
something like super tragic could happen to somebody.
That's different.
And
That's different.
You would never say to them, oh, that doesn't affect you.
Correct.
Because
I personally.
That's incredibly
correct. I personally.
offensive.
Some people might, but I personally would never say something like that. Like you just said, I wouldn't do that. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
But then you get to decide though, because you'll be like, oh, this isn't that bad of a thing, so I'm gonna say it here.
I don't get to decide,
but you don't know.
there are.
No, but you do decide.
Well,
because you said it to me in whatever instance. But like I'm saying,
let me
a different person.
Let me ask you: was it life or death? You're speaking now about specific.
No, but here's the thing: it was still offensive to me, and I didn't like it, so I kept asking you to change it.
and that's totally understandable. And by the way, I don't want to deflect.
In my mind, sorry,
I don't want to deflect what you're saying at all. I would say this is a different subject than. Oh gosh, what were we talking about? I would say that I'm not feeling good. Well, that doesn't affect you. Go anyway is different than I can't do this. Well, you just haven't tried yet. That's a positive. That's an encouraging statement. That's oh no, you could do it. You just haven't tried yet. That's different than I'm sick. I'm not going to the gym. Well, you could though. That's not necessarily encouraging. That's a little bit putting down a little bit, like, oh, you're
That's
just
what
not
I'm saying.
trying very hard. But I feel like that's totally different than you said to me, I wish I did that. I actually thought about doing that again, but I'm not going to because it's not going to turn out right. That's quitting before
I
you've even
didn't say I'm
tried.
not going to. I said I
Well,
can't. But
let's be fair.
the thing is,
For years, you have talked about doing stuff like that and then won't.
hello.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The thing is, you also just have to know how people talk
Well, and
and
then we
how
get back into the
people
love languages and why
think.
it's important.
Exactly, because
Yes.
I know, I'll still ask you to change it, but I know what your intent is when you word things like that.
Of course. I'm very
And
encouraging. I'm very helpful to people.
I don't know if you know at this point because you are like, don't say it like that. But I say stuff like that, or I'll say, oh, I can't do this. But then oftentimes I'll just do it anyway.
I don't agree with you, actually. I don't think that's
And
true.
you are
I think
like,
you've gaslit yourself into thinking that. I don't think that's
okay,
true.
well, let me give a different thing. You hate complaining. And I'll like,
But I should
I'll
hate complaining.
comment like,
Don't
oh,
say that like.
shush. I'll
Okay.
comment like, oh, it's hot. Oh, it's cold.
Mm-hmm. Which
But
you shouldn't do.
I'm not, or you should know by now, hopefully. It's not like I'm not upset about those things.
You aren't upset. It's not like you are.
I like to comment on things, and I like to say things
It's
that
still a negative comment. I won't
if I'm
change.
hurt, I like to talk about it because it makes me feel better. So maybe I'll stub my toe and it's not that bad, but I like to be like, my toe.
Yeah, sure,
I just like to
don't bang on the table.
express what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I would. I still.
But you're
not
correct. I do
necessarily.
think complaining is a negative thing, and I
Yeah.
do continuously, like every other day, I'm like, okay, you really got it.
There are
relax.
people.
But
There are
it's not-
people.
I feel like it's not that bad because I'm not complaining where I'm like, oh, somebody help me, somebody do something. Oh, this is so horrible.
I don't think there's a huge difference.
I just like
I don't think there's a huge
to
difference.
speak about things.
I don't think there's a huge difference.
Perhaps that's not the best way.
Maybe.
But that's just how it naturally comes, and a lot of people are like that.
A lot of people like to complain.
But not that I'm saying if lots of people do things, you should do them too. Because
I would say, I definitely don't. You're talking about picking people to hang out with. I don't want to hang out with complainers. People that sit around and talk about what they don't like. I mean, I think if you're being honest, that sometimes you spend more of your time sitting around talking about what you don't like than maybe spending time doing something that you do like or fixing said issue.
Yes. And I have thought recently at one of our young adults thing, he was saying, the leader was saying, oh, I complained about something, which I don't often do. And I was like, wow, imagine being able to say that about yourself. I could never say that because
I don't complain.
I'd be saying stuff that's complaining all the time.
I'm
but I tell myself it's okay because I'm not being so negative and my mind isn't actually that negative.
That's what gaslighting actually is.
But I should more think, how does that come across to other people? Do they think, oh, she really must hate her life or something because she's always saying something that's going wrong?
That is how it comes.
And I don't want that because I have a fantastic life and I'm very happy about it.
Okay. Well, that's how it comes off to
So,
and that's how it comes off to me.
But I don't generally do that with everybody. It's usually close people that if I'm doing it, usually.
Yeah. Well,
but of course, if you do stuff with your close friends, it's going to start going out.
Pros and cons is always something that I love to do about everything. And I guess my question to you would be, what are the pros and cons about complaining about something? And then what are the pros and cons about finding a good thing?
And it's mostly negative. But here's the thing.
It's just easy. You just decide that and then stop
Like
doing
I'm saying, because I just want to talk and express, I can, for most of those things, alter it very slightly to make it not a complaint. I could just be like, oh, it's so warm out.
Well, you could,
instead
but
of being
now,
like, oh, it's so hot.
Right.
But just the phrasing and just the tone even. I could say the same sentence with a different tone.
Sure.
So I just need to think about that.
But do you realize that we were talking about you saying there was this thing you wanted to do and you thought about doing it, but you've never put in consistent time or effort into it, which to me is just extremely sad. Not sad as in it's very sad. It's like there's something in your mind somewhere that you want. Wait. I've barely started. You've got this thing in your mind that you want to do and you haven't tried it. That's just, if I want to try something, I always just try it. I buy the thing that I want to try. I see it. I get it. If it's an instrument, because that's something that I do. If it's a business thing, I try it. I might lose money. I might lose time, but I know that I put in time and effort. And so we switched from talking about something like that, which I would say that a majority of the time, you don't then go, you said, I say I don't want to do it or I complain about it, but then I do it anyway. Not with those type of things. Not with
Sure.
the,
Here's
not
a
with the, I want to do this type of project. You'll try it. It won't turn out very good and you just drop it. So I want to talk about
but
that piece. The complaining about the
here's
weather.
what I know.
Everyone talks about the weather.
I'll reach conclusions because of information that I've gathered. I've done videos before. It's very difficult for me. It takes a lot. I've done videos by myself before. They usually turn out horrendous in my mind. And it's not, nothing about it comes naturally to me.
Well, I've always, videos that you
I can do it.
Videos that you have taken or done and you show me, and I'm like, this is great. You'll say you don't like it. You don't like watching back these. You don't like watching these back.
That's correct. That's because my voice sounds like a
But
chain smoker, and I've never smoked a day in my life.
I don't think your voice sounds like a chain smoker. Like, I feel like you have some of these negative.
It sounds horrendous. And I think you would have to be mental to think that it doesn't sound quite bad.
You were not extremely, just to be straight to the point, you were not extremely encouraged or uplifted when you were a kid. You were not by a lot of people. This is not something that you would say happened a lot in your life. I would say
sure, but also I look back and I'm like, I also can think of so many times when I was like, when I started the painting stuff. Every time I came home with one, my sisters would be like, "Oh, fantastic! Can you pay me something? That's so good."
How old were you?
I started playing.
How old were you at that time?
A teenager, young teenager, mid teenager.
Young, what about younger than that?
I started playing with makeup because like my sisters would get makeup. They didn't want it. They didn't like it, and then it'd just be around, so they let me play with it. And it was obviously bad because I didn't know how to do makeup, but I just play around with it, and they'd be like, "So good, do my makeup."
Well, I obviously hope that over time. I mean, you've told me different than that. I mean, you stated yourself when you started saying it. Yeah, I've said that. But so to be clear, I hope you look back and find a bunch of things that, wait, you don't actually feel that way. But to the point is, you definitely have said that in the past. You're feeling like you're remembering old memories now that are changing your opinion on that.
And that's because you don't like.
Hold on, I like.
You don't like when like something goes on and then a while later somebody changes their thoughts or like says something different about how it happened. But I think
depends on if it's true or not. It depends on if it's true or not.
Yeah. I
don't have any
feel like
context.
That's a good thing.
Well,
because
it can
for
be.
me,
it can be.
And for most people, like everybody now wants to like focus on what was wrong with their upbringing. And
by the way, I don't even like that, by the way.
Me neither. And that's what I'm saying. People are like, oh.
I was going to go to a next thing, but we moved a little bit, which is fine.
People are like, oh, my parents did this, or this happened to me when I was young.
So this is why I'm this
and
way.
I have this trait because of it. And that thing that happened could never be changed. So I have this trait.
Right. Which is negative and not useful and not helpful.
And I feel like you should be able to look back and in every person's life, no matter how you were brought up, there's going to be things that were bad and still affect you to this day. And there's going to be things that are good and still affect you to this day.
Right.
Because how you're raised is how you become who you are. So it's going to be a part of you forever.
Of course.
And I feel like more people need to be able to look back and maybe they had a bad parent and they should be able to look back and be like, yeah, maybe they're a bad person. They shouldn't then get rid of and forget if they did something good.
Of course. Of course.
But often people will want to leave that out because they're like, well, I think they're a bad person. If I'm going to tell somebody about them, I want to tell them why I think they're a bad person. But you shouldn't then just forget. So I want to say, oh, I'm remembering positive stuff now.
Great.
So
like I said, I'm all for positive anything. So if you can look back at any time and notice something good, this is phenomenal. I don't diss that in any way. It is different than what you've told me, so it's news to me, right? I mean, you just said yourself, but I've been thinking back. You didn't share that with me, which is totally fine. It wouldn't necessarily come up.
I honestly think I did in a conversation before, quite a while ago.
Maybe unrelated, but not about that. I mean, you didn't talk about the makeup.
The makeup, no. I do think that. But anyway, in a past conversation, I was like, actually, about the paintings, they were
something that we've been talking about a lot lately. Is, you trying new things or doing new things because you haven't done a lot of that. throughout your life.
And every new thing I try is a very big struggle for me.
That's what
to
I'm
get
saying.
into.
And it's everything is a muscle, right? So you have to work it out. So that's why I would be trying, if I was you, I would be trying a lot of new things for the sake of trying it. And you're not going to be good at it right off the bat. Now, I will say, and this is not to talk about me, so maybe I'll have Esther say it because it just happened yesterday. I called jury duty and something happened, and Esther was like, "What in the world?" And so I'll let her tell that story because it's funny and it does.
Oh, like what I said after.
It definitely affects how you try new things, and this does comes down to how people are. So anyway, tell the story because it's
So after we got off the call, I said,
well, what
why does everything work for you and not for me? And he said, no, I just put in time and effort to make things work.
Yeah.
Which is true. But also, I tried to call jury duty last time I had it. Because
and she feels like she did it the exact same way that I
was
did,
unwell.
which she might have.
And I couldn't go. And I also had extra shifts at work because both of our managers were gone. So I couldn't go because they were like, we're leaving you in charge. Anyways, so I called them. It goes through all the freaking annoying options.
Menus and
Then
robot.
it's like, talk to a live person. I'm like, yeah, fantastic. And it said the hours of operation, which I was within. And then it either would immediately hang up after I clicked that option, or it would sit there and beep and beep and beep and beep and beep. And then it would be like, sorry, I'm still not better all the way. And then it would say, call back within the hours of operation. And I was like, I am within the hours of operation. And I tried, I kid you not, 3 to 4 days in a row at different times that were within the time. And I could never get to a live person.
Right.
And on your call, you got to a live person literally
within seconds.
Less than a minute.
Yeah, within seconds. Now, the reason I bring this up, people love to say, like, oh, George talking about himself. Actually, people don't say that a lot. The people who are closest to me will say that. And, of course, they would know me the best, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't care less. But why I brought that up. So I teach a lot of students. I teach a lot of student things, generally music. And I will notice the student sitting next to the best player. There's two things that happen. That person either becomes better because they're sitting next to the best person, or they become upset that they're better and they actually become worse. If they were sitting next to someone that was worse, they would end up doing a little bit better. I've noticed this many, many times. I mean, I've taught, gosh, we're probably coming up to 1,000, maybe more students that I've taught over the course of time. If you counted it all up over the last decade of teaching. And again, the reason I brought it up is because it would definitely be, I completely agree with you that it would be aggravating that you felt like if you and I both picked up a phone, did the exact same steps, and it worked for me and didn't work for you, that would be off-putting. That would be, well, that's annoying. It doesn't
and
come
we've had that
easy
exact same thing happen
so many
like
things.
on the computer. I'm very, very bad with computers, and I'll literally click the buttons that you're telling me and it doesn't work, and then you click the buttons and it works.
But this is why I bring this up. A quote I really like. I think it's Conor McGregor. I'm probably not going to say it perfectly, but he said, there is no talent here. It's just hard work. And I actually say that because I'm not talking about like me, like, oh, I'm so great at everything. I'm actually doing the exact opposite. How many phone calls do you think you've made? How many phone calls in a professional setting do you think you've made?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. How many emails have you sent?
Now.
But wait, let's just walk through this.
Very little, but I just wanted to mention that we just talked about that recently, and
what emails?
We're saying that the first interactions we had were via email. So.
Oh, that is funny. That is funny. How many emails have you sent? Very few. How many? Anyway, we could continue talking about that, and again, people can say whatever they want, but this is not me putting Esther down in any way. I'm actually trying to say, how many videos do you think I've made? How many types of YouTube recording myself, listening to myself speak? Your voice sounds weird to yourself. You know how many times I've heard myself speak in videos? I have walkthroughs on instruments that I spent over 60 hours recording, editing. I listen to myself talk 24/7. Not in a weird way. People can say whatever they want. I've had to say that so many times in the last minute. It's gonna start getting old. What I'm trying to say is that that's just what I do. So those things become natural to me now. Now, I'm also not trying to force you to make videos either. I'm not trying to but you will say that you want to. Someone will comment to you, why don't you make stuff like that? And then you're like, oh, I'm not good at it. No, you just haven't tried. And when I say tried, I've been doing this
Well,
I've been
here's the
making,
thing.
wait a second,
What
I've been
you're
making these
what you're
professional,
saying is, yeah, maybe you're not good at, but you can get good at it.
of course,
But
I've been
most because
making
people will be like,
professional,
"No, I'm really not good at it." Yeah, sure, but if you
yeah,
put 100 hours in, you'll probably get good at it, or
anyone,
you'll get better.
everyone,
You'll
everyone.
definitely get
You'll
better.
definitely
Maybe
get
you
better.
won't get
I have been making
good to your standards,
professional
but
emails, since I brought those up, I've been making professional emails, phone calls, editing of videos, things of this nature. Nothing super high level. I want to be clear. I'm not saying I did something crazy and special. I've been working at those things for 10 years. That is almost half of your life. I've been doing that. That's almost half of your life that I've been doing that. You'd be good at it too. You'd be great at it.
if I did very much. Yes, that's the hardest thing for people,
Do you realize that for
myself included.
you to get as good as you think I am at these things, you would have to do it until you're 35. And you'd have to not stop.
Yeah.
Right. And that always makes you not want to try. And I will say,
Let me tell you something.
that
Who likes doing something over and over that they don't think they're good at? Nobody in the world. But it's fantastic for you to do.
well, and that's why, to then get back to the other thing, that why I brought up, like saying, did you think you got encouraged in upbringing or whatever, which wasn't specific enough. Something that I tell the students all the time is difficult things are not bad. If those kids never play an instrument for the rest of their life, but they remember that I said that, that's it. That's it. I got an email from a parent the other day that said, my kid views your band class much more than music. It's life lessons and learning how to live. That's all I care about. I like to teach band because it doesn't have to be super structured.
And even if they didn't listen to what you said, the fact that they were in band and had to do something difficult, which is playing an instrument, even if they didn't even retain that information, just having done the difficult thing and having to do it.
Generally, for most kids, music is fun. Generally, for most kids, it's more fun than other subjects, generally.
Yeah.
And if you can get them to do difficult things in the thing that they like, it's always beneficial. So anyway, difficult things are not bad. So when I talked about kind of encouragement, I guess what I really meant, and I definitely know the answer to this one, were you pushed to do a lot of things outside of your comfort zone when you were a
And
kid?
that's an absolute no, because I was the baby, and literally I didn't even have to ask to not do things because people would just do them. And if we went out somewhere, they didn't even ask me to order my food because why would they?
And I would say that was way more detrimental to you as a person than even if you do feel like you were encouraged. Yes. Encouragement is kind of cheap, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. You definitely need nice people around you that are nice to you when you're a kid. I'm not saying that. But having someone say, no, I'm not going to do this for you. You got to do it by yourself is so bad. And if they can do it in a way that's helpful. So basically what I guess I'm trying to get at, and we've been talking about this so much off camera, this is why we're talking about it more now, which is what can you start putting? I mean, you can see behind Esther there. This is new, her little schedule stuff behind her on the whiteboard. What can you do to where you're trying new things now on a regular? It's sad that you didn't get to try a lot of new things when you were young. This is extremely important. I was doing new stuff all the time. Yeah. Now, I also leaned in that direction.
There is like some stuff that I was put into and tried to start, but I feel like it was at an age where I was already too accustomed to not having to try at things and being able to just have something done for me. So then I pushed back a lot.
Now, I don't even remember before teenager. I hardly remember teenage years. I'm not good at like going back and actually physically remember being there, which is extremely sad because then your life feels a lot shorter. But you seem to actually remember some of those things.
I remember it quite well. And I remember when I was like very young, I would love to just watch my siblings play. So even playing, I felt like I don't even need to do it. I'll just watch them play and it's entertaining to me.
Yeah, we've talked about it a few times on here. I do remember some things, like I would make games. I didn't even want to play them. I wanted to play my own games that I made.
Yeah, and I didn't even want to play the game. I just wanted to watch somebody play it.
So we're definitely different people, and in no way is one way better than the other. But if we were going to talk about pros and cons of each, I do feel like there is the potential of more detriment to your overall well-being, mental fortitude, and, you know, trying new things. Obviously, I mean, that's too pinpointed, but I feel like you should literally be having on a schedule saying, do something that I haven't done before. I mean, some things are obviously more difficult than others. And then some things are just difficult because they're new. I'm going to crochet. Well, that's not difficult, so to speak. It's not scary. You're just going to give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? But like the other day, something that I do all the time, I went to a new place for a new partner in a business. I had to walk in, didn't know where the place was, had never been there, didn't know the people that were there. All we did was email. I'd hardly seen photos of them. It wasn't a Zoom meeting before. Like I was walking in. And even though I did that since the time, that was scary. That's just difficult. Go somewhere you've never been, talk to people you've never talked about, try and sell them something. This is different. I'm not asking you to.
Yes, that's a whole nother level.
I'm not asking you to do that.
We've gone to like places that I've never been, and I'll be stressed and be like, oh, I don't know where to park. I don't know where whatever. And you're like, it's whatever. Just going somewhere.
But how many new places have I gone to?
Yeah.
So anyway, I would say, you don't like when I
The thing is also because like in back to young adult group, shout out. Still every time we go into like small groups, I get so freaking stressed.
No way.
Because I hate talking in front of groups of people that I'm not super well acquainted with.
I mean that's
that's
understandable.
And I know that I'm always happy after I do it. And even if I like stutter or say something that I didn't say something,
I'm just kidding.
Not
What's that video?
Which I don't do. I don't do often.
If you stutter in front of them, you just have to deck them.
I don't stutter, but I do like word things. Maybe not how
you might
intended to word it. But I am almost never upset when that happens.
That's good. I mean, hey.
But it's still so difficult. And I literally will be telling myself, that if you say something, you're going to be happy after. Even if you say the wrong thing, you're going to be happy you tried.
Oh,
and
you're
it still
happier once you share.
So much effort for me to make myself.
If you sat in the group and didn't share, but sat there, you would be sad after that you didn't share. And if you sat in the group and shared,
like last
you're
group was a bigger, it wasn't that. It was a small group. It wasn't very big. But it was bigger than the last couple I'd been in because they'd been like 4 or 5 people and this one was more. And I didn't share anything.
I talk less in those groups than you think I would.
I probably talk more than you do because I know that I tend to be quiet, so I try to. But this time I didn't. And I was like, I had thoughts while people were talking and I had things that I wanted to say.
And you jumped in.
No, I didn't this time. And that's what I was saying. Then when we went back into the everybody together room, I was like, oh, I should have said what I was thinking.
Oh, but you did jump in
and
more
then
this most recent time.
No, I'm saying the recent time I did not. The times before I did.
You started to, okay.
Not start to. I generally do. But,
right. I know you don't.
But I'm just saying every time it's not getting easier for me to do that, but maybe I've just not done it enough times. But I don't know why it's not getting easier because I know the outcome. I know if I do something, it's going to make me happy.
But this is the next thing. That's my whole point is difficult things aren't bad. Just because it's hard, it's good, great.
I know.
And have it be difficult every single time.
Way back to the personality test thing, I think you're better to do those to find the spots where you're like, you know what? I don't like that. That's a personality trait of mine. I want to change that.
Well, rather than if you find out that it's better to be one way.
Well, even if it's a thing that's not good or bad.
So I'm not necessarily saying good or bad.
I like hugging people instead of getting them a gift. If you don't like that you do that, even though there's not one of those isn't better, fantastic. Change it.
I know you
people look at it for what they want to be confirmed in themselves, and they're like, oh, this is what I wanted to hear. That's not. Oh, well, I'll tell people this part of it. You should do it.
So don't take the test and then go even deeper in the ones that you're good at. Take the test and try and
see what you want to do differently.
I know you generally don't like
and I'm so good at talking about that stuff. And then
let me finish what I'm saying because I've said multiple times you generally don't like.
Pretty bad.
And this time I just said you generally don't like me, and then you took back over.
Correct.
You generally don't like me asking this sort of thing or saying this sort of thing recorded, but that's not going to ever stop me from doing it.
Red flag.
I feel like, what'd you say?
Red flag.
Red flag. This is red flag. I feel like you should say on here or agree to something on here that you're going to try that's new. I feel like you should. I really feel like it should be those videos and not in a. I obviously like the videos. Okay, I'm someone that likes recording things. I'm someone that likes that. So I'm not trying to push that on you.
But the ones that
you said yourself that you like it. So I'm very upset that you're saying I like this, and now you're telling other people you like it, and I've asked you to do it.
Let me tell you something.
This is offensive.
Let me tell you something.
Go ahead. Whoa. That was loud.
I shook the mic as well.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
We're going to get Thai food after
The
this,
one?
bro.
No, we're not.
Oh, dang.
The ones that I like.
That's sad. Why aren't we? Go ahead.
The ones that I like
You could do.
are
I'm gonna
very,
throw that in there real quick.
perhaps not, are very outgoing, likable people. And they're talking and they're explaining and they're not just the ones that are like styling versus wearing and they're not talking. I could do those.
This is
and
so,
it would look
this
fantastic.
is so aggravating because
Hello?
Esther
Why are you-
around her close friends is the most loud, boisterous, outgoing, crass.
Huh?
Oh, 100. Don't lie just because it's recorded. That's what
Shut down the operation.
That's what she's like around her like super good friends. Why not do that? No one else is there. But the funny thing is, you're not even like that by yourself.
Because
you're like that with the other
camera
friends.
turning on with nobody there.
Because you haven't
I could be filming
tried
it specifically telling myself this is not to post. And the minute it turns on, I change.
But that's the part that annoys me because
But that's a lot of people. Isn't the number one fear above death public speaking?
But that's I would agree that that's different, very different. The people are there looking at you. This is different. You're saying that you feel similar to that because you're going to post it and people are going to watch it.
And most people that are afraid of public speaking, if you say film a video of yourself and put it somewhere where somebody's going to see, they're going to be stressed.
Basically, what I wish is you would take.
But if I took my own advice, just following the conversation, I would say, who cares what most people do? Who cares that that's a negative thing that, work on changing?
But that's the thing. You and I will sit on here and say great stuff, and then you will change the tune right after.
No,
yes,
it's not that
you do.
Yes,
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Listen though,
I do not.
My feelings are true right now, but like I just said earlier, I have such a hard time applying it, and I can speak the truth over myself. Like I'm saying in the small groups, I tell myself, even if you butcher what you're about to say, you will be happier having said it. And sometimes I still cannot bring myself to it. And my heart is literally exploding.
But that's difficult things aren't bad. This is your most.
I know.
This is and your I do it best.
And I do it most of the time in the groups.
So then do that with the videos, not because you need to film these videos.
But I'm just wondering when and why can't it just get easier?
Oh, I still believe it will. Again, I did say, remember that I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm still scared. You haven't put 10 years effort into anything.
Valid. I probably put 10 years of effort into being social and interacting with people.
And how good are you at it now? Much better at it.
So good.
Right. You didn't used to have.
So good compared to what I was.
You didn't have close friends 10 years ago. You didn't have a single one.
True.
You have multiple now. That's one of their favorite times is hanging out with you. And yes, I would say you've been working on that for a long time. So I would say that, just because we're talking about it, the videos you should act like that. The type of video that you said you actually wanted, you said the ones that they're being just kind of like fun is the ones you wanted to do, not like I thought, which is really funny. This whole time, I thought you wanted to do the very elegant, no talking clips.
No,
this whole
that's
time.
The thing.
And
I could do those right this second.
Right.
I want to do the ones that are conversational and
then do it.
Fun. And
then do it.
Know that'll be so difficult for me.
You do that when I'm in the video.
And
you're doing that right now.
Yeah.
So why can't you do that on your own? That's so weird. I just don't
Maybe
understand.
if you were filming it for me,
filmed
it would be fine.
Dude, right now. Like, that'd be fun.
But I also just overthink everything and I want perfection instantly. So I'll be like, oh, it seems like, which I know is not true, it seems like they're just making up their outfit as they go along.
No.
They're not. Maybe some people do.
Are, yeah.
But generally, they're probably not. But they just make it seem that way because
not only that, they buy the outfit, put it on, and then return it.
I think about that all the time. My favorite person to watch, who shouldn't be my favorite because I would never wear any of the stuff that I see her wearing. I just like how she does it. And she has stuff that she uses like over and over, and I'm like, that's cool because most people.
So do you?
No, not phrases. Items. Like she'll wear the same pair of shoes in like 10 of her videos, and I think that's amazing because most people would be like, oh they've seen it once, gotta return it.
Well, now let me.
I like that she's just literally using her wardrobe.
Now let me do my toxic thing.
Oh,
since we've been talking about yours, is once you start doing that video, I'm going to make you work on it every day for hours. And if you don't, I'm going to be mad. So there you have it.
Toxic.
No, so then that's what I do. So then Esther will try something new, and I am very encouraging. I'm always like, yeah, it looks great. And she'll say, no, it doesn't look good. I'll say it looks great. But then I'll say, you got to do it 1,000 more times. And you got to make it better. You got to do more. And then if she stops doing it, I am annoyed.
Work on that.
But the thing is, I still think it's still
Here's the problem with you.
You should be annoyed.
No,
you
let
should
me tell
be
you
annoyed
something.
that you stopped.
Let me tell you what your problem is.
Please,
because I know it.
Please, please, please.
You think because you have good intentions with things that nothing has to change. You think you'll say, "Oh, here's my toxic trait," but you say, "Oh, but that's a good intention because I want her to succeed and I want her to do something. I want her to get good. So I'm going to do this forever." You need to realize, one, that does not help me do things. In fact, it makes me go the opposite way because I'm like, great, now I got to do this every single day. I don't want to do it anymore.
But you're someone. But then to point back to what you said.
So you need to be able to change that. Just as
you said your personality trait is you need to focus in on the things that you're not doing as good. So if your thing is stopping, you should be thankful that I'm pushing you to continue it.
Correct. But you need to figure out, just because you're doing something that with good intention and that maybe is a good thing to uplift people, you got to realize that some people it's not going to be beneficial for. Like me, a lot of things that you do, it's great and you encourage other people like that. And then you do it with me, and it literally gives the opposite result of what I want. I mean, of what you want.
Well, it's not about what I want.
So you need to work on that, and I need to work on something that kind of doesn't really maybe apply to what we're talking about right now. But I will say all this stuff of work on yourself. If you don't like blah, 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 blah.
But you won't.
I feel like I'm consistently working on myself. But I will just give myself, because I know that I am, because I do things that stress myself out. Like, still half the time if we go somewhere new, ordering makes me stressed. But I'm not like, don't do it. And I
generally still won't. Sometimes you'll be like, order for me.
Because it doesn't really matter at this point. But
might it matter
but if I go by myself, I'll not go because you're not there.
But are those micro you've done?
Shut up and let me finish my thought.
Are not those little micro ones making it harder for the bigger ones, like filming a video? Won't those shying back to not going to the next store because they didn't have the thing you wanted and you're like put out now, but it's only been an hour, you know?
Huh? Not him getting me angry because last time I went to multiple places and I spent
but you didn't
time and I asked people, which I hate doing.
I know, but the first place I went to, it was there.
Get this kid out of here. Anyways, yeah, exactly. Everything I do
it's
works.
Super hot up here.
Anyways,
sweating.
It's very warm. What was I gonna say? See, now I forgot.
I love that face.
Oh no!
Why aren't we getting Thai food after?
I will do what I just said I don't like people doing with like looking back and being like, I'm this way because of this, blah. I'll look at myself and be like, because I do things that make me nervous most every day, I'm like, I'm working on myself. Hooray.
So when a time arises, you just won't do it because you did it some other time?
Yeah. Oh. I am realizing now I tend to just be like, I consistently work on myself, which I do. But then sometimes I'll not work on something that comes up because I'm like, oh, but I did something stressful today. So that's working on myself.
I see.
So I need to just realize that I have to do that forever.
Why aren't we getting Thai food?
For my whole life. Because we just ate out and we're on a fitness journey and we can't fall back into our old ways.
Wait, old ways? I haven't gained any weight back.
Correct. But I don't want to get into the habit of eating out often again. But I am very hungry and I have not eaten enough today and I need to gain weight. So maybe we will go somewhere, but I want to do Thai because that feels heavy and indulgent.
Oh, okay. So you just don't want to go to Thai. You just took a long way.
Did you notice my word choice?
Indulgent?
Yes, because it's all very strong flavor and it's very bueno. And it's
Thai food.
And it's not so particularly good. Well, I don't know. Is it good for you?
What? Yes.
It's so delicious that I just can't
depends on what you get.
Bring myself to believe it's good for me. But I'm saying I want to do something like more clean.
Oh, okay. Well,
more natural, less flavor, less, well, maybe we'll go forget literally 2 things.
She cannot stand on business for more than 2 minutes.
Being the rice and chicken. But
Oh,
anyways, you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to not get us into
no, that's very smart.
the old ways, but we
We
do
have
need to
food here.
eat, and I
We have
have been
food.
blasting through the food in the house, so we don't have a lot. And I'm getting a little
Um,
bit deranged, so let's wrap this
so we
up.
we talked about a lot of stuff. We should have some that are shorter with more specific points.
Oh,
Because
I don't like
Esther,
those ones.
no, those ones are good too.
I like to chit chat. You
Uh,
know me. I just love talking to people.
I like the chit chat as well. I just we need some of both. So because Esther's working on coming up with more of these sort of like the general idea of what we're going to discuss on the thing. So I'm just saying, come up, have some different styles.
Mm-hmm.
Have one that is like question. Then I can ask you, like, come up with one that's maybe like specific questions for me, specific questions for you. I do
Mm.
still want to have other. We've had some other people on, but I want to have some other people on. I also want to have somewhere it's you and somebody else, not just me and somebody else. So that'll be cool too. Push her out of the
That'll be
comfort zone,
crazy.
you know. What'd you say?
So that'd be crazy.
Why would that be
Mm.
crazy? Who came to your mind to have on? So obviously, multiple people did. All right.
I think you know the answer to
Yeah,
that.
I do. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.